Hey, what is up, guys? This is GangsterKT. I have a really cool interview with Khasino that I wanted to share with the mob today. It was great to hear how Khasino's been, what he's up to these days. He was one of my favorite CCs back in the day. Additionally, he gave a lot of great content creation advice, shared some industry insider information, I'd say, and just had some great overall stories and conversation. Timestamps and links to Khasino's content that are discussed in the video are below in the description, so please make sure to check those out. Special thanks to my alliance mate, Kicking Pigeons, who swears that he does love birds, so don't worry about the name. But he set up this connection, so I really do appreciate that. With that said, I hope you enjoy this unfiltered, mostly unedited video, Kicking It with Khasino. All right, well, I'll get started here.
All right.
So, hey, what is up, Marvel Strike Force community? This is your mob boss, GangsterKT, and have an incredibly special video for you guys today. I am honored and excited to introduce one of the legends of Marvel Strike Force content creation, Mr. Khasino himself. Khasino, welcome, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate you doing this. I know you still have a lot of fans in the community. They're going to be anxious to hear how you're doing, and just grateful you're joining me today, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, no problem at all. Glad people still care even a little.
Absolutely. Well, I know you'd help me so much. I remember one of my examples when I was really starting to try and min-max Marvel Strike Force. It was, the new character campaign grinds, and I was like, where's that balance of refreshing cores on the medium difficulty and the lower rewards versus going back to the high ones? And I'd ask multiple people that question, and I mainly got confused looks. And then on a whim, I reached out to you, and you had like the exact node to switch on, knew exactly what I was talking about. And I was like, man, this guy is a theory crafting legend. So I learned so much from you as I was watching these videos when you were doing them and trying to keep some of that theory going here myself. So again, glad to have you and have
Yeah,
some
no problem.
questions here today. I think people will really be interested in some about yourself, some about the game you're covering now, Mortal Kombat, and then also just getting into some fun questions here to have a good time. So
By all means.
all right. So kicking off the interview here, Khasino, first off, want to give you the floor and just hear kind of a little bit about your time over, I think, the past 2 years since leaving Marvel Strike Force and what you got into and where you are today.
It's been quite a ride. So I decided to stop covering Marvel Strike Force for a handful of reasons. I was really excited for Marvel Future Revolution. I didn't want to continue supporting developers that were taking a lot of actions behind the scenes to kind of prohibit what I was doing, pursuing a career as a content creator. So I made the jump to Marvel Future Revolution, and I thought that was a pretty safe bet as far as content. I figured they spent over $100 million on this game's development. Like, surely they're not going to let it all fall apart. But there was a variety of silly things that occurred. Basically, the inner circle of advisors as far as the community side of that game, were a lot of people from Marvel Strike Force, in particular, a batch of people that really didn't like me from Marvel Strike Force, a bunch of smaller creators who just really didn't like me and had no problem making that very clear. And so they were putting in a lot of bad word on my behalf, so to speak. One that stands out that always made me laugh is I was talking to basically like the head of Marvel Games, the guy who like oversees the community for MFR and everything, Danny, and he was like, "Oh, I've heard some reports that you deal in leaks," and I was like, "Yeah, but I'm more than happy to like share with you guys anything I have first before turning it loose, and if there's something in particular that you don't want getting out, like I'm happy to filter that." And they were like, "I don't know if we want to deal with anyone that has anything to do with leaks." And I was like, "Okay, well, like I said, I'm trying to cooperate with you here. Let me know what you want me to do." And then someone else in that chat had sent me a screenshot of like, "Yeah, this is the guy who's been repeating like, oh, this guy deals with leaks. You don't want to have anything to do with him." And I'm like, why does that name look familiar? And why is that guy so sure that like I'm such a dangerous leaker? So then I look in my messages with that guy who's just like talking smack nonstop, like, don't work with this guy, don't trust him, he does leaks, you don't want anything to do with it. The very first message I have from that guy, he sent me a leak.
Nice.
an MSF leak. And I'm like, this freaking guy. So you had that. You had like creators like Wolverthor, who's just like, Khasino sucks. He's a jerk. Don't work with him. So it was a really uphill battle to try to help save Marvel Future Revolution from themselves. And a hilarious like mistranslation of a word ended up making everything fall through. So I had worked with a data miner and gotten a bunch of stuff from the game, and I found essentially a ton of leaks for Marvel Future Revolution. And I could have, of course, just made a video and gotten really exciting views and been the first to premiere the content. But contrary to popular belief, I always would prefer to collaborate with the developers if I can, because I think that the best way to make a game better for the players is to work with the developers and have a positive relationship with them so you can say, hey, the players want this to change. Let me tell you what the players are saying and see what we can do to make these changes for the players. So I show the data mines to guys from Marvel Future Revolution, and I say, hey, like I have all this stuff. Any other creator that found this would just be publishing a video like exclusive first look, new skins, new items, all these things. But I wanted to show them to you guys first and see what I can publish. And they hadn't been responding to much of what I'd been saying before that. And when I'd sent that, I had their attention and they were like, oh, don't publish any of this. But I was like, that's fine. At least we have a conversation going now. Like I want to help you to help everyone. Let's do something. I messaged someone else saying, hey, great news. The data mine that I got, I was able to leverage that into a conversation with the team over there. So I think we can actually get something going. And they misinterpreted the word leverage to be like me saying I have leverage over them. So they took that as like Khasino said he's blackmailing the devs.
Oh,
And
goodness.
then they relayed that to that team, and that team was like, no creator blackmails us. And I'm like, oh God. So that fell through because that was the narrative that got through. Like all these people, like he does leaks. He was nothing but bad for MSF, and he's trying to blackmail you and all these things. And I'm just like, it's so insane. But I guess it's a bit on me. Like I have a knack for being terribly misunderstood. I don't know. It's just how I talk, I guess. I'm not really sure. But so that fell through, and apparently they only took the input from, I would say, less qualified creators because their creator program was a disaster. And that game, again, despite like $100 million in development, within like a year, I think that game is shutting its services down.
Yeah.
And
Huge surprise.
yeah, so unfortunately, I invested a lot of time and effort trying to get content. And I mean, I was among, if not the top creator for that game, but the nature of my content is I make guides and walkthroughs and stuff. I don't make it about me. So if people stop playing the game, they stop having a need for my content. So when the game goes away, a lot of the viewership that I have goes away. So that was unlucky. And I was like, all right, well, then the next game that I really dedicate myself to, I have to make sure like will have an audience and can't drop the ball this hard. And so I picked League of Legends Wild Rift because I got my start as a creator as a League of Legends streamer. So I was
Okay.
like, all right, I'm going to go all in on Wild Rift. Like League gets hundreds of millions of views on their stuff. So if Wild Rift is even getting 50,000 views per a video, like that'll be great. I invested a ton of money in having a custom site built, and I bought all this currency to give away to people. I ended up giving away like thousands of dollars of the in-game currency for free. I played a lot. I got all the way to Grandmaster in the game. I was playing alongside the pro players in my matches. I was really, really high ranked. And in short, they had like no creator program whatsoever. I think they have one now that doesn't do much, but at least they finally have one. But back when I was covering it, there was no creator program whatsoever, no support for creators. And in fact, they were like withdrawing their support for the North American region. Like they even announced while I was covering the game that they're going to stop basically sponsoring and supporting North American esports events and tournaments. So like
Wow.
all the North American pro players are like, all right, now there's not even any like well-paying events for this game. So they all moved on to other things. So this was the second time in a row that I gambled wrong, like thinking this game can't possibly fail. And again, my content that like people who had leaked news, their content was doing fine, and people who we're making like clip compilations of all these different clips. We're doing okay, but as far as like individual Wild Rift players, even with like the twist I had, which is that like I made it a game show and I made it fun and I was giving away all sorts of prizes and stuff. Um, I was among the top as far as like solo players for content, but the views just weren't there. And so that was the second time that I dedicated a lot of time, a lot of money into covering a game that just the viewership was just not there. And so at that point, I was in a bit of a tough situation. I like absolutely could not gamble wrong a third time. Too many bad gambles in a row here, living up to my name. All right, so at this point, I need to move to somewhere where the rent is cheaper. So me and my girlfriend look on Craigslist and we find a guy who's like, "Yeah, I have a place. I'll give you the tour of it. You can check it out, and if you like it, then we can work something out, regardless of what your credit score is at this point." I'm like, "That sounds great." So the day that we're meeting him there to check it out, he's like, "I'm actually still up the street showing someone another house and I got stuck here, but I'll just give you the code to the door. Just let yourself in and check it out and let me know what you think." So I'm like, "All right, that sounds great." So he gives us the door code. We check it out. My girlfriend's like, "I love it. We should definitely move here." And I'm like, "Wow, this place is super nice and the rent is surprisingly reasonable." I don't know this guy. I'm pretty sure I trust him, but I can't be 100% sure. And I know there are a lot of sketchy people on Craigslist. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But let me make sure. So we see the place, we go home, and this landlord we found on Craigslist messages me like, "Yeah, you can send me $1,000 deposit to secure it, and then we'll go from there." So I'm like, "All right, I'm really like my credit is not good. I've spent a lot of money on things that did not pan out. Like I'm in dire straits at this point. Like nothing, I can't have this not work out." So I call my bank, Wells Fargo, by the way, and I go, "Hey, this person wants me to send them $1,000 via Zelle. I'm pretty sure they're legitimate, but in the event that they're not, can I, like, if this turns out to be fraudulent, can I get this $1,000 refunded? Disputed as fraud and get it refunded?" And they said, "Yeah, no problem. That is something we do." I'm like, "All right, good. I feel more comfortable." So I sent the $1,000, and then that was at night because my girlfriend was like, "You need to secure this place right now. I'll be so mad if we don't get it. Like, I don't want to keep looking at places. That's the place I want." So I'm like, "Fine." I had said like, let me look around a little more, do a little more research, but that's what she wanted. So I said, "Okay." So then I wake up the next morning and my girlfriend's like, "Hey, I'm telling people about the place. Can you send me pictures of it?" And we didn't actually take pictures of it when we were there. So I'm like, "All right, let me just put the address in online so I can find the pictures of it." And when I Google it to find the pictures, I see that it belongs to a property management company and the rent is much higher than what we were told. And I'm like, oh boy. So I call the property management company and I go, "Hey, do you guys know this person who's claiming to be the landlord of this property?" And they said, "No, we don't. Uh, I don't think you are dealing with someone who's on the up and up." And I
Oh
went, "Well,
no.
I think you guys have a security problem because he had the door code and he let us right in." And they went, "Oh no, on our website, if you pay $1, you can get a temporary code to do a self tour."
Oh my goodness.
So I
Yeah.
lost another $1,000 when I'm like already like looking for a place and need to put a deposit down. So yeah, the short version is it's been rough. It's
Yeah.
been rough. Marvel Future Revolution, I can't believe they tanked that game despite putting $100 million into the development of it. If they would have listened to me, I would like to think I could have helped keep it afloat. Wild Rift, again, having virtually zero support for their North American players and no content creator program, really killed their content creator prospects for that game. That was really unfortunate. Getting scammed by someone I've known for years on my Discord out of thousands of dollars, that didn't help. A fake landlord scamming me, that didn't help. So it's been quite a crash and burn since
Man.
MSF.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at is I'm scraping by. And I'm hoping that Mortal Kombat Onslaught will do well, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But I do have plans for if Mortal Kombat Onslaught does not take off, because now that I've been burned by game developers not knowing what they're doing or being malicious several times, I've actually settled on, okay, if one more dev team lets me down, my next play is I'm making my own game because I know how to make a fun mobile game.
Wow.
So that's the direction I'm looking in is, all right, I'm sick of watching people do it wrong. It's not that hard to make your players happy. So I'll do it myself if I have to.
That is really interesting. Wasn't expecting that. Well, first off, man, sorry to hear about that luck. That's pretty shitty. Especially like trusting people you've known for years. That's quite a hit. Sounds like you got a place though at this point, hopefully, and hopefully
Fortunately,
things are starting to turn around for you. You still seem to be getting a great following on Mortal Kombat and a lot of views on your videos. So
yeah, we'll see. So far, so good.
one real interesting thing with what you said, and then would like to hear more about Mortal Kombat Onslaught, but that dependence on like the developers being willing to work with the content creator, it's not something I'd really thought of before. And at my level, probably not very important, but with what you try and do and the level you create at, that makes sense. And sounds like that was a pretty big hurdle in multiple places for you.
Yes and no. I would say it's not essential. Dependent on the game, like it is possible to grow as a content creator. You don't need developers holding your hand to make it as a content creator, but generally, the developers can do a lot to make all creators' lives easier. They can have all sorts of things, creator codes, creator programs, making their art assets easily and freely available. There's a lot that they can do with very little effort to make creating content for their game much easier. They can design things being streamed in mind. And I think that a lot of developers even now do not quite appreciate the value that the creator ecosystem brings to their game.
Yeah.
I think Marvel Strike Force owes a tremendous debt to their creators. Only speaking from my own behalf, I would get comments all the time with people being like, "You are the reason I play this game. You make it fun for me." If I didn't have Whale Wars to watch all the time, or if I, couldn't sign in and see your new video every day, I would have quit this game a long time ago. And
Yeah.
so I always appreciated that, knowing like, all right, I am injecting the fun into this game where it sometimes is lacking it,
Yeah.
which was always the goal.
No, there's no question. I think, and I had a question later about Whale Wars. That was always one of my favorite series of yours. But I think on top of just helping people play the game, I think content creators actually do a big service to developers and somewhat normalizing spending. I
Oh,
know
for
when I
sure.
when I first started playing, I was fully free to play, but when I started seeing some videos of people spend what they are getting, when there started to be like a normalized dollar value to the resources in the game, then all of a sudden there's great deals out there some days like that. That makes people spend.
Well, there's a lot to it. So what I will say is I can say this for sure about other games without violating NDAs or anything. Some other games make their contracts for creators structured to say things like uh, if you spend up to X amount each month, you will be reimbursed. So
Wow.
so they the goal is record yourself spending. We will cover the cost of the spending, but let people see it and be motivated by it. Let them see how much fun you're
Interesting.
having, how much luck you're having. That is a common tactic, but it is possible to accomplish such things without, inking it into a contract. It is possible to simply reliably donate to creators large amounts in ways that no one knows where it's coming from. A creator can say, "Oh, I want to drop $100 on this offer," and then someone, "Oh, here's $100. You should get it and see how it goes." So that can happen in a way that does not directly link a company to a creator per se, but that's a thing that can happen. So
Interesting. Okay.
they can do a lot to normalize spending. And then if you want to get kind of tinfoil hat with it, if a certain amount of creators are experiencing a certain amount of success where it's clear that they're enjoying a elevated livelihood because they're covering a game, that inevitably leads to a lot of other aspiring creators wanting to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it makes some sense business wise to take care of a handful of creators and ensure that they are setting a good example for all the other creators who are then motivated to make tons of free promotional content for that game, trying to reach that level of success.
Yeah.
So
Sounds a
it's
little familiar, but that does make sense.
it's
So
it's an interesting field.
very good. Well, appreciate you sharing all that, man. It was cool to hear what's going on with you. I hope your luck turns around. Again, kind of some shitty circumstances sound out of your control, and I guess that's life. But hopefully it swings the other way for you here soon.
Yep, one of the most useful pieces of information that I gleaned from playing League of Legends and also proved true in Wild Rift is you can focus on the things other people are doing wrong and problems that other people are creating for you. But then you just end up sitting around going, well, this person's an idiot and they shouldn't have done that and yada yada. But uh, ultimately, the best thing you can do for yourself is to focus on what are the things I need to improve? What am I doing wrong? How can I do this better? So I,
Yeah.
even though there are some circumstantial things that did not make my life easier, I put it all on me. I should have not invested so hard in games that I did not have a good enough reason to think would succeed. I shouldn't have been so trusting, things like that. So I just kind of put it on me.
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at things. But I think hearing that story, that's maybe a little harsh on yourself. But I mean, Marvel Future Revolution, who would have ever thought, right? Like you said,
I
that's
yeah, I
huge
thought it was a
investment.
pretty safe
So,
bet. I could not believe they were so sure they didn't want any of my input. They wanted to just tank the game super hard. Like,
well, they
all right,
succeeded.
fellas. Yeah, well done.
All right. Well, hey, you mentioned it, but want to hear a little more about the game you're covering now, Mortal Kombat Onslaught. So, just curious if you don't mind sharing a little bit about it, and then would love to hear any similarities to Marvel Strike Force too.
Sure, sure. Yeah, it has a good amount of similarities. So I've been a fan of Mortal Kombat. So I used to play like when I was really, really young, I'd play like ebook type games, like I don't know if you remember the cartoon Arthur. There were like these ebooks. That was like some of the first times I was using the computer, things like that. And then they had these weird games. I don't even know how to describe them, but it was kind of like you'd click a part of the screen and then like depending on where you clicked, a different clip would play furthering the story, things like that. But the first real game that I played where you're controlling, like go forward, go backward, jump, duck, was Mortal Kombat. And that game blew my mind as a kid, being like, wait, you can just uppercut the guy's head off. This is the coolest thing of all time.
Finish
So
him.
exactly. So I've been a Mortal Kombat fan since the very first Mortal Kombat, and I stayed a fan of it. I've always loved the character designs and stuff, and I played the heck out of the first let's see, 1, 2, 3 and Ultimate 3 trilogy. The When I got my PlayStation 1, I got one game with it when my parents got it for me, and it was Mortal Kombat 4.
Nice.
So yeah, I've just been a big Mortal Kombat fan, and so hearing that they're making a new mobile game, I was like, well, I'm already quite known for mobile gaming content. And although I have been doing a little bit with Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat Onslaught, the upcoming mobile game, I figured that's a little easier to get my audience on board with because it's mostly people who don't have time to sit in front of a console, but they have plenty of time in between, slow periods of their job or whatever it is to play mobile games. So that's Mortal Kombat Onslaught in a nutshell. And it's currently in soft launch. It's in a few regions. I think it's in Southeast Asia and in the Scandinavian countries, but it has been officially confirmed to be releasing sometime this year, 2023. And it is a hero collector. So in that sense, it's similar to MarvelStrikeForce. It's got a roster full of characters. And the combat is a bit different. It's not turn-based. It's more of a idle style with abilities that you activate and choose the targets. But there's the RPG elements of like you equip gear, but similar to like how you choose ISO 8 in MSF, you actually choose which pieces of gear you want to put on the character so you can build them to be tanky or build them attack or crit chance or things like that. And then they have relics that allow them to perform fatalities and things like that. But yeah, kind of similar. The combat's totally different, but the rest of the structure of the game is pretty similar.
Awesome. So it sounds like another one where if you have 10 minutes, you can accomplish something and play it on like a console, like you said. And
Absolutely.
that's really interesting about the release. I should have done some more research, but didn't realize it was limited at this point. You're getting quite a few views on those videos for a limited release like that. So
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, I've got like a few thousand when I put out a video of like actual in-game content. The videos that are doing well, like I put out a video like how to install the game. And so that video did okay because there were a lot of people interested in learning how to install it, but like there's a high churn rate with any mobile game. So most of the people who watch the video on how to install it are not people who still check in to see what the latest release is with the game.
yeah,
So the videos that I'm putting out right now on the content of the game are not doing great, but I am fully prepared for that because they have done no advertisement of this game whatsoever. Like not one. They did like one press release announcing it like in October of last year, and that's it. Otherwise, it's been radio silence. Even in the regions where it is soft launch, they're not promoting it at all. So
Wow.
there's not a lot of active players or anything like that. So I put myself in a pretty good position for this game. I'm hoping that it does well. But if you go to discord.gg/mkonslaught, that's my Discord server. The developers don't have one, so I just made a community server. And so I'd say about 80% of the active players in the game are on that server. And if you go to www.mkonslaught.com, that's my companion site that I made, which has taken quite a bit of influence from MSF.gg. Ty J and Pimp Toxie made an awesome site, and I thought I can use some aspects of that to make a companion site that this game needs. So hats off to
Nice.
those guys. And I cleared it with them, said, hey, I'm going to make a companion site. Just wanted you guys to know you guys were a big influence on me. And I'm going to make a shanty imitation of what you guys have made. And hopefully one day it'll be almost as cool as yours.
Those guys seem incredibly talented, and sounds like you're positioning yourself really well when this game does full release. And if it blows up, Mortal Kombat IP is famous. I grew up on
For
that,
sure.
like you were saying. So hopefully that plays out for you, and you're sitting there with the website and the Discord, and I'll make sure to put those links down in the description so everyone can check them out. But
yep. So on that note, something I should mention, although the game is in early access only for a handful of regions, it is possible to play, whether you're Android or iOS, it is possible to join the early access already. Sometimes it requires a bit of a more elaborate workaround than others, but regardless, we can get anyone into the game right now. And the devs have already confirmed that all progress from the early access will be kept come global launch. So everyone that's playing now is just stocking up resources that they're going to have when the game is globally launched. So
get that head start. It's fun to be in the lead, right?
it saves on spending especially like if you intend to be a free-to-play player. Yeah, start accumulating your stuff now.
In your instruction video you mentioned, is that the one that would help people if they were interested in doing that?
Yes. So what I will say is, and I can provide you a link to that video. If you are on like an iPhone or an iPad, anything iOS, the video will show you everything you need start to finish to get in the game. If you are on Android, there are additional steps that for logistical reasons, it's literally not possible to put in the video because it has to be configured for each person. But the video will get you up to the point where you then need to reach out to me or one of the people on my staff on the Discord server to get you that last bit of the way into the game. But we have less than 24-hour turnaround time helping Android people into the game.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that definitely something worth checking out, it sounds like, and maybe a global launch here this year, sounds like, which would be cool. But if not, ways to still get in now. So
yep,
it's good to hear. And while we're on the video game front, just curious, any other console or mobile games you're really into right now that you think are fun?
Yes and no. So I had a friend of mine that I used to play Wild Rift with actually insist that I play Honkai Star Rail with him. So I've been playing some Honkai Star Rail, which is if you're a fan of MSF, Honkai Star Rail is very, very similar. It is turn-based and it's really, really clean. There are very, very few bugs, almost none. The production value is incredible. So that's kind of like my guilty pleasure. I'm actually one of the top ranked players in that game, but I don't put out content for it just because it would be too much with everything that I've been doing for Onslaught. But I do enjoy Honkai Star Rail quite a bit, but I'm planning on dropping it once I'm making Onslaught content full time. But I still play that one regularly. That's about it. And then Mortal Kombat 1 is the name of the new Mortal Kombat console game. So there was a stress test for that game, which I streamed, and I gave away a bunch of codes to the stress test. And there's a beta test coming up August 18th through the 21st. I'll be streaming that beta test and giving away codes for that beta as well.
Okay, cool. Well, everyone keep an eye out for those if you're interested. Get that early access. And again, Mortal Kombat's fun. That's grew up on that. Like you said, it was kind of the first game with some of the pretty cool graphics and intense things when you were a kid, and it was a lot of fun. All right, so switching gears here, going to have just a little fun question as we start maybe transitioning to some MSF questions here. But in honor of my caricature, I do. What do you think makes a person a gangster?
Some some gangsters I think of as just like these are businessmen who simply happen to indulge in um, questionably legal business, but otherwise they're business professionals. The nature of their work may dictate that they continue to operate outside of the law, but ultimately they are simply motivated by business and therefore, you know, are are trying to maximize profits and maximize efficiency in order. They're not necessarily maniacs who want to hurt people. They just want to provide an illicit good or an illicit service and be the most effective businessman they can be in that realm. So that's one kind of gangster, and I think of that when I think like the mafia or whatever.
That well thought out answers there. I was really hoping you were going to say the sideways hat is all it took. So
Oh, no, I've done that for videos, and I'm certainly not a gangster.
So next question, getting into MSF a little bit. I'm sure you've heard, but it probably 3 to 6 months ago, I forget the exact timing, but MarvelStrikeForce was purchased by Saudi Arabia's Savvy Games. And I'm not sure how much you've kept up on that, but just curious if you had any thoughts. I know some in the community are weren't thrilled about that, or curious maybe what they were supporting with purchases. But just curious if you had any thoughts on that overall.
So I don't really like any elaborate answer I would give on this. I would just be kind of making stuff up or pretending I'm better clued in than I actually am. I don't really know anything about Savvy Games, and although I have heard little tidbits here and there about Saudi Arabia getting involved in other industries, uh, I don't really have any concept for what that actually means for those industries. Like my guess, and this is just the most ignorant answer I could give, is they just want to put their money into things that they believe will grow them more money. Like they seem to be getting involved in sports, which is, sports probably aren't going out of style anytime soon. They seem to
Yeah.
be getting into video games, which is just an industry that's demonstrated that it's growing. So I don't know how much of their culture or anything like that they intend to impose, so much as just if we put money in, we get more money out, and that's our goal. That's what I would hope, but I have no idea what their plans are, what this will mean. But what I will say is the future of MSF seems to be on a pretty clear trajectory for me anyway, which is early on in MSF, they were trying a lot of new things and they were experimenting with features and really honing in on what it is players like and what drove growth and things like that. But you hit a certain point where uh, your mobile game is just not doing crazy innovative things. It's been out for years. Things are starting to get outdated. And I think that some of the bigger creators leaving MSF kind of put it in the decline, not necessarily in a rapid decline, but basically every mobile game eventually hits a phase where it becomes, all right, what's the least we have to spend to maintain this? Like it's churning out this much profit every month or every quarter or whatever. So the less we can put in to keep it where it's at and continue collecting is the goal, and to just ride it out until eventually the money dries up and it no longer makes sense to keep it going. So MSF has at this point a very, very well defined formula for how often they release new characters and what those new characters need to be like and what supporting offers need to go with them and what events need to go with them and things like that. So they know what they're doing at this point, and it's not particularly expensive for them to maintain. So they seem to just kind of be in maintenance mode, and as long as it stays profitable, they're just going to keep churning out new characters and new events. But I don't imagine that some company is going to look at it and be like, wow, this is making reliable money month after month. Let's change stuff up. Like when you have a money printing machine and then you say, hey, what it's printing, I want it to print out into my lap. You tend to go, all right, and I'm not going to touch it. It's printing money.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put a bucket under it, and you guys have a great day. I'll be back for my bucket in a bit. So
Understandable. That's interesting. And I forget the publication, but it seems like about a year ago there was an article in the industry that came out claiming MSF was in maintenance mode. like you were alluding to there. And I know there was some confrontation about that, and I think the devs came out and said, no, that's not the case.
Well, they'll never
But
say it is the case.
right, exactly. But like you said, and to be honest, I like the game as it is right now. I think it's actually relative to the past year, it's in a really good spot. And there's times where I don't want things to change. I want to be able to catch up and fully optimize what's there. So maybe some pluses and minuses to that, but
Yeah, I mean that's the real value of the game is it bringing you enjoyment, and if it's bringing people fun, then that's all there is to it. Have fun and enjoy life.
all right, so switching gears a little bit, I went back through your history. Your Strike Force quit video was on August 8th, 2021, so almost exactly 2 years ago, and that was right around when Infinity Watch was being released.
Yep.
I remember your last video, it was still, you knew who the last character coming out was, but it hadn't been officially announced as Phyla at the time, but you had good rationale why that would be the case.
No, I had the full Infinity Watch. I think I quit shortly after.
Okay. But just curious how much you've kept up with MSF since then, if you still kind of watch who they're releasing and what's going on with the game, and if you have any opinion if things are better than when you quit.
Well, I certainly have not been heavily involved in the going on. So basically, when I get entrenched in a community, once I move on from a game, I don't like excommunicate everyone that I used to talk to. So I follow all sorts of Strikeforce accounts and Strikeforce creators, and I still talk to plenty of those people, here and there. Like I messaged Valley not too long ago. I was talking to Reminex on the phone maybe a month ago, things like that. So I I see plenty of things pop up. I don't seek out. I don't think in the last 2 years I've been like, I want to know what is the new Strikeforce character. Like I don't think I've looked into it, but just the way my algorithms are trained at this point, it will just pop up. A channel you subscribe to put out a new video or whatever. So I've seen a good amount of them. And then we talked about this before the recording, but there was a sponsored Marvel Strike Force stream through Stream Elements that I accepted just as an excuse to like hop back in and see where things are at. And while I was doing that sponsored stream, I did get to look at a lot of the new characters that had come out and see who they were and kind of how they functioned. And there were quite a few new characters added in 2 years. It looked like they'd almost doubled the amount of characters in the 2 years, and I've had played for like 3.5 years. So it looked like they maybe ramped up the character release pace a little bit. But that's kind of their business model. Everything revolves around the characters. So good for them for getting them out to people. But I did get to catch up with a bunch of new characters very briefly until the Marvel Strike Force devs contacted Stream Elements and insisted that they canceled the campaign in the middle of my stream.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Could not believe when you said that, and quite a shame. I'm glad you got to see it a little bit and get back in it there.
So that campaign was like attract new players to Marvel Strike Force. And so I had a bunch of people in the Mortal Kombat Onslaught community who were like, all right, yeah, to support you, I'll check it out. So all these people were actually trying Marvel Strike Force for the first time, which was the whole point of the campaign, was like get new people to try the game. And then they canceled it. So I was like, okay, I won't have new people try your game. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you wanted new people playing, but not if I recommended them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay.
That's a shame. But like you said, they definitely been prioritizing new characters over reworks, it seems like, more frequently, and have kind of announced a cadence going forward for that. I like the new characters. I'll tell you, we're at 49 teams, I think, on blitz rotations. That's becoming more and more of a chore, but it is fun getting those new characters, right? And I know that's how they make their money.
Absolutely.
Too,
I mean, Marvel Contest Champions is still going, and they've got what, like 300 or 350 characters or something at this point. So
yeah,
the beauty of the Marvel universe is that they're not going to run out of characters. And even if they kind of started running out of characters, then they can just introduce like World War II Captain America. They can just have other versions of the existing characters. So
exactly. We'll have an all Thor team here soon. I'm
right,
sure.
right, exactly.
And then also make up their own characters.
Yeah.
And the new one Vol, and pretty interesting there. So, and of course they're the most powerful ones, right?
Well, otherwise, who's going to care?
Yep, exactly. So, getting into some of your old content, I'll tell you one of my favorite videos, and we touched on it, but it was when you did the Whale Wars video series. It was back. Red Stars are a lot cheaper now. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but over time those have gone down. But back when I think it was a $50 offer for 14 orbs, maybe, and then you'd actually have a scorecard running where people would get certain points based on how many red stars they got, or if it was the featured character. And that was always a lot of fun. I never thought I'd sit there 20 minutes and watch people open orbs, but I loved it. So just curious if you have any similar things like that with the content you're covering now, or just anything you wanted to mention with Whale Wars, because I think that was one of your claim to fames.
Not currently. Like so they just in Onslaught, they just introduced the very first featured character, and I did do an opening for them, but the way that we're currently getting people into the game actually makes it very complicated for people to make purchases. Currently, we have a workaround where basically we can log in on people's behalf and make purchases for them, but it's really a pain to set up the ability to make purchases in the game as it stands. So there are not enough whales yet in this early access buying things to allow for a whale wars to happen, but there is a summon system that certainly, like, whale wars could absolutely be adapted to fit Onslaught, so that is a thing that we could do. I wasn't like immediately considering it, but if it's backed by popular demand, it's something we could do.
Yeah, I always loved it. And again, I think from like a developer standpoint, just to be honest, that was something that kind of helped normalize spending on red stars for me and really helped me figure that out. So
yeah, even when we called it don't buy red stars, which made the devs very upset.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, I don't know if people know the history behind that, but we made some joke where it's like, all right, if I lose this one and I've lost like 20 in a row or whatever, or if I don't at least get like one gold drop, then I'm just calling this series Don't Buy Red Stars. And then we started calling it Don't Buy Red Stars. And then to motivate me to change it, they were convinced that titling it that like made people not buy red stars. Like people were literally like, what Khasino says goes, and he determines whether or not to buy red stars. So I'm like, regardless of the title, you're seeing the value that you get, and you can judge from that whether it's worth it or not to you. But so they then started doing like the featured creator spotlight on their strike times. They would show the like so and so's channel, and they kept skipping me, and I was like their top creator at the time, so I was like, yeah, no, it makes sense, like spotlight some of the people that aren't getting a big share of the views and get their name out. But once they're on like the 7th or the 8th one, I saw it come up, but all the other big creators had been featured. I was like, what? At some point, I'm here too. Like you might now, it's starting to make me look bad when people are like, why are they ignoring you? Is your channel not worthy? So I was like, you should probably put me in one. And they're like, all right, we'll put you in one soon. And then they're like, all right, it'll be this week. And then that week came, and then last minute they're like, actually, you're not going to be in it this week. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah. So we show the YouTube page of the creator, and the team felt that if we show your page and one of the first things that people see is don't buy red stars, that it doesn't reflect well on the game. And I'm like, are you serious? So they were basically like, we're not going to promote you in any capacity unless you change it. Which was not the first time they gave me an ultimatum of sorts, but so I changed it to maybe buy red stars.
Well, and it's funny, if you had that much direct influence on revenue like they're implying, you'd sure think they would have tried to keep you around.
Right. Well, so interestingly, I think that I had a significant influence on revenue, and that they did not like that. Because like they would try to make something sell really well, and I would come out and be like, this sucks. It's not worth getting. It's not worth the money, and then it wouldn't sell. And then they would put something out, and I would say, everyone should buy this. It's so much better than they realize. And then it would throw all their numbers off. So I don't think they liked me having such a say in their revenue. And I heard some really silly things about like how they conduct their sales and things like that. So like every once in a while we would see an offer and be like, this offer is so good. Like it's so much better than the other offers. And like all my buddies are buying it. Like we'd be crazy not to buy it. This is such a good deal. Why don't they put out more offers like this? They would sell so many. And so I asked that once. I was like, how come whenever you guys like stumble on a smash hit offer, it always seems like then you go right back to putting out a bunch of offers that aren't good? And the answer I got made me laugh quite a bit, which is like, oh, here's a little bit of insight into like the corporate mindset on the back end. basically people have to report like, here were our sales numbers for this month or this quarter or whatever. And what they really care about is having done better than the previous quarter. So if they have an offer that accidentally does super well and now they're ahead of their previous quarter, they don't want to set the bar so high that they can't top it the following quarter. So they're like, now just throw bad offers. We're already ahead of goal. We want to finish just ahead of goal so that we can still show up the following month or quarter, or whatever it is, and say, look, sales are up again.
Wow.
So they're intentionally tanking their own deals so that they can always give the good news of like, sales are up, which ironically, I feel like if the person they were reporting to knew that that's what they were actually doing, they'd be like, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
Make a ton of money this month.
exactly.
But then it would be, well, you made a bunch of money last month. Why didn't you do it again? So I get why they're doing it, but I was just like, this is clown world. What you guys are doing, you're just being silly.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know,
I've
play.
heard
Yeah, go ahead.
I've heard similar things with like salespeople that, their targets will be so high if they have a great quarter. So to make sure they get their bonuses every quarter, they might sabotage some, and that's interesting. But like you said, that's not what the bean counters want. That's not what the finance people want. They want all the revenue they can get. So
Yeah, but when they don't know any better, and so they just see like, oh, sales are up again. What a wonderful department I'm managing here.
yeah.
Like, all right, whatever.
When I've always thought, they're mistakes, those accidental like decimal point Jeff issues and things like, are those maybe really on purpose? Because those have to be their best sellers. It's not like it changes the economy in the game, even if it wasn't intended. I always have wondered if those are on purpose.
I would be surprised if they were. It's not the most implausible thing, but like they wouldn't have to make it seem like an accident. And a lot of times they like take it down and then are like forced to reissue it or claw it back. So I don't personally believe that they do those kinds of things on purpose, but I can't say for sure. But I see them constantly making errors everywhere else, clearly unintentionally. So it's a safe assumption that like, oh, they also messed up the offer.
They're a gigantic QA department, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That
One of
makes
the
sense.
videos I'm most proud of is my MarvelStrikeForce pitch meeting. And I have a line at the end of that video where I was very proud of this just because I thought it was so funny. That one guy's like, I think there's a typo in here. It says that the budget for the QA department is just a stapler and a box of rubber bands. Like, no, that's correct. What? How can that be correct? Like, oh well, we just figured it'd be cheaper if we let the players discover the bugs and then we fix them. Like, then why do you have the QA department on here? Because if we didn't, then people might be like, what, do you guys not have a QA department? Well,
That's
makes
what
sense.
it feels like.
Checks out.
That's funny and definitely what it feels like. I haven't noticed within like the past month or two as much. I don't know if things are turning around, but it's been bad at times.
QA departments cost money, and part of the cost saving measures is like, how much money are we losing with all these bugs? Now, I will say I'm a little bit responsible for that. I never ever made the suggestion to them like, you don't need QA or anything like that, but I helped them recover from it early on. I gave them advice that, and this is just good advice to any general game devs, which is like, if you just keep screwing things up and have to keep going back and fixing things, your player base will get very frustrated and be like, too many bugs. You guys keep screwing up. Screw this. I'm out of here. So what I said to the MSF dev team was, if you guys keep making mistakes, if you want people to not just get frustrated and leave when that happens, you have to overcompensate people. But if every time there is a bug, the response is that people end up with a bunch of resources they weren't expecting, then eventually you get to a point where the players are like, yes, another bug. Oh, good. I can't wait for the compensation. So it gets to the point where people are happy that you're screwing up. So I'm somewhat responsible in the sense that I gave them that advice to, you can keep messing up, just overcompensate every time. And then your players will be like, well, at least I get a bunch of free stuff. And so I think they realized that that was a solution and then went, yeah, why have we even been trying to prevent bugs? We can just send digital goods and then fix them. We'll let the players find them. It doesn't even hurt us. It's to the point where players are happy when something's broken or bugged. Obviously they aren't, and that's not what I intended to, communicate to them, but I think I kind of set them on that path.
Well, and it's interesting. There was a few month period I felt like the majority of my resource income was from bugs, like you're saying, and the compensation from that. But
and you're still playing and presumably still spending, so they, what's their incentive to change it? They didn't they would have to be losing customers or revenue to want to change it, which is why like if there is a bug with the offers and people can't buy stuff, oh, that is priority one. How could this happen? Tighten that up. You need to get this fixed right away. But if it's, some other bug, who cares?
Yeah, amazing how different some of those time frames are, right? Can't be a coincidence. So
No, no, no.
so this is more a comment than a question, but curious if you have anything to talk about afterwards. But one of my favorite videos of yours, it was when you were doing the Whale Wars, and you had actually gone on and were trying to support other streamers and content creators. And I remember you were basically buying them that $50 offer and then hanging out with them as they opened their Red Star orbs. And I always thought that was so cool and nice of you to do. So just wanted to mention that. Thought it was neat, and sounds like with Mortal Kombat, it's a newer game, so probably not a lot of content creators out there. But any plans besides of what you're doing here with me today, and to help out other content creators down the road?
Yeah, well, so I still not as much these days, but for a while after I left MSF, I was still helping a lot of the smaller creators. I was helping like Boilon and another couple of creators. It was mostly creators actually that didn't speak English, not by choice. That just happened to be who it was. But I was still getting the art assets from leak sources. So since they weren't in the creator program, I was providing them the art assets so that they could make good thumbnails and stuff too. Telling them about rumors I'd heard and giving them pointers and stuff. But yeah, essentially, whenever any creator has reached out to me, like I've had a few MSF creators reach out and be like, "Do you want to, make an appearance on my stream or anything like that?" And basically, the only reason I had any success as a creator is because other more experienced creators were willing to take the time to sit me down and give me advice and tips and things like that. And so I've always wanted to, like, whatever I can do. Like, I don't know if people remember, but early on, when no one had heard of Valley Fly, and I kept having him featured, and I kept giving him tips and teaching him how to do stuff and improving his videos. And at the time, people were giving me crap for it. Like, why do you keep having this meathead on? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's new to the game. Why is this guy even here? And I'm like, relax. He's really dedicated. And I promise you, once he gets set up and flowing, he's going to be a reliable source of content for you guys. He's a good dude. Like, trust me, this is worth the investment. I realize he's still getting it together right now, but I promise you, he's worth my time. Like, every time I help him out, he comes back the next day and goes, "All right, what else can you show me? Can you help me do this?" So I'm like, he wants to be here for you guys, so let's make it happen. So
he's a legend now, no question.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. These days, much bigger MarvelStrikeForce creator than me. But
fair enough.
But it's always been my policy. Like, some creators, unfortunately, it tends to be like smaller creators for the most part. But some creators have this mindset of like, well, if they're watching you, then they're not watching me. So they go out of their way to be like, that guy's content sucks. Don't watch him. His guides are stupid. Listen to mine instead. Things like that. And but I've always felt that, like, if your content is good, people will watch it. It's totally fine. Like, people absolutely can watch content from multiple people and hear like different takes on the same things. And I'm just a believer that like a rising tide lifts all ships. And so that's why I, like, back in the day with me and Valley Fly and Mobile Gamer, I tried to establish an ecosystem of like, you would always see the creators appearing on other creators' content, and just always, you become a fan of like the whole ecosystem of creators. And it's I share my audience with you and you share your audience with me, and just everyone benefits from it. And I think, at least for like that original trio of us, it worked well. And I collaborated with Seaton several times right in the beginning when he was still around. But I've always been a believer that helping other creators is the way to go. Plus, like some creators give up after a week and it never goes anywhere. And I'm like, whatever. So I wasted a couple afternoons giving this guy pointers, and then he just gave up. But I don't mind. I feel like I did the right thing in that instance. But it's not a bad thing if like one of those creators then goes on and becomes tremendously successful. So like I got started as a League of Legends content creator, and there were two different guys that I had on my streams. I basically had a really good system for having featured guests appear on the stream. So at the time that I had these guys on, one of them was just a random diamond level player, which was like among the top ranks way back then, but otherwise nothing really distinguishing about him. He had a good personality, And he was really enthusiastic about playing a support character, which very, very few of the high level players were at that time. But he was like, yeah, I realized like mostly girls play support and support gets the least kills, it's least exciting. But you know what? I'm a damn good support. And he really owned it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I had him on when he was like I don't want to say he was like an absolute nobody, but he was just a high ranked player that had like 5 viewers would watch his stream or whatever. But I was like, I like this guy. I want to have him on. And then there was another guy who never made any content or anything. He just happened to be the top ranked player for a certain character. And anytime I could get someone who was like, oh, you happen to be the number one for this character right now, I'm sure anyone who's a fan of this character would love to hear from you. So the first guy I'm referencing is a League of Legends creator named Aoki, or Aoki LOL, whichever one he goes by. And the other one that I'm talking about was the number one Ari for people who play League of Legends, and he goes by Legit Korea. Both those guys, I had them on back then. Again, one of them like literally didn't even stream. He was just like, I guess I can get on voice chat with you. And I'll be like, yeah, people love to hear what you have to say. Come on. And the other one had like 5 viewers, but I was like, you should probably have more viewers. You're great. Both those guys now are like over 100,000 subs on YouTube. Aoki
Wow.
is hugely popular. Legit Korea, massively popular. And so like I take a lot of pride in like I helped those guys and they have not forgotten it. So now when I have questions about like, hey, as a bigger creator, when you run into this, what should I do? I'm like, I'm glad I have these people to go to now who always have the time for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, the short version is if I can support a creator, I want to. If you literally have done 0 streams and have 0 viewers, don't message me right away and be like, I'm a creator. I just haven't put anything out yet. Like, get your feet wet a little bit first and then be like, all right, here's where I'm struggling. Then come ask me for help. I don't want to literally set up everything for you per se, but as soon as you feel like you are going for it and you could use some help, then I'm happy to help anyone.
Yeah, well that's amazing, and those examples are things to be proud of for sure. I mean, that's pretty cool. A lot of success for those individuals, and what people don't see watching this discussion here we're having is how much just behind the scenes you've been, messaging me with little tips and hey, here's a link for a new background you can use, and like that again. That's awesome, man. So really appreciate that, and your examples about the creation community, that really makes it more fun and that sense of community versus just a couple people you're watching. So
yeah, I mean, I watch a ton of comedy podcasts and they're just always having each other on as guests, and it just makes it more fun.
yeah, for sure. And more fun to talk to people than just to go through slides or however you're doing your thing. So
Yeah.
all right. So another little off the wall question. If you could have a beer with one MarvelStrikeForce character, who would it be and why?
Oh, no question. It would be Negasonic.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, so for starters, I think some people forget that whole thing started because she's one of my favorite characters of all time. I just
Okay.
think she's awesome. And I thought her representation in the Deadpool movie was like, oh, thing of beauty. Like they nailed her. Perfect. But I just think it would be a lot of fun to be like, can you believe what happened? And I would love to just like recount like, and it was all because this is what I said. And then I'm sure she would laugh and be like, I know. Cheers.
Well, that's awesome. That's a creative answer there. Makes sense with that background. I was guessing maybe a Thanos or a Thor, the obvious, but I like it. That's a good answer there.
No, I find that Thor would not be that interesting to talk to. And I don't think I'd understand most of what he was saying. And I think that I would not be able to keep up with his drinking in the slightest.
No, that's probably true. So, well, cool. Well, appreciate that. You've touched on this multiple times through here, but for myself or maybe for other hopefully upcoming content creators out there, any additional advice you just have for content creators in general from your experience?
Absolutely. I mean, I could do a whole video on this, and there's so many things that really are tremendously important. So I'll just touch on a few of the big ones. The first is consistency. Having any kind of consistent schedule. Like I streamed every single day for the most part at the same time every single day, and that allowed people to kind of build that habit into their schedule of like setting aside that time each day to check in with me. So consistency goes a long way. And then there's 2 other things. So the second thing I would say, and this one sounds kind of silly, but you'd be surprised how many people don't have an answer to this. which is you have to have an answer to the question, why should I care what you're putting out? Like, it sounds silly, but a lot of people will put their Twitch link or their YouTube video, like, check out my new video, check out my stream. And then you go, why should I care? Which is like, not, they, people won't always say it, but for sure they're thinking it. And usually there's at least one person that will say, why do we care? Mm-hmm. And most people's response, they either don't have an answer and they're like, I don't, because I made it. Like, whatever, who cares? Or they'll say something really generic, like, oh, well, because I like, being nice and hanging out with cool people and having fun. And it's like, find me the streamer who's like, I like being a jerk to people and not being nice, and we hate having fun here.
Right.
Like, that doesn't exist. So if you're just saying something that it's like, that's true of everybody, then it's a kind of a nothing answer. So like, I had a few different answers to that question when I was playing MSF, but it was like, oh, I've been playing since day one of closed beta. I have every single character. I'm a top 10 arena player. I had all these reasons why, like, you will get valuable insight from me. Whatever, I make the blitz predictions, like, whatever it is. So having an answer to that question, and it doesn't have, like, it doesn't have to be a cheesy gimmick, but like, I'll always remember there was one guy who, like, his thing was he really liked heavy metal and he had long hair. And whenever someone would like subscribe, he was like, I'm going to headbang for you. Thanks for the sub. And then he would like do the crazy headbanging thing for a certain amount of time. And he did for donations or whatever. But like, that was his vibe. And that made him stand out. You're like, oh, the heavy metal guy. So, if you're just like, I'm Brad and I'm the white guy with brown hair that made the video, it's like, are people even going to remember you if a few days later they're like, oh, maybe I should see if that guy put out a new video, but that you were so not memorable, there was nothing about you that stood out. So like, have some kind of hook, whatever it is, lean into it. Maybe something like the Gangster of MSF, something like that. But at least you stand out in that crowd for one reason or another. So yeah, have an answer to why people should care and have something that makes you unique. But more than both of those things, I'd say the third point is the biggest one, which is people want to be where the fun is. Like, if you're walking down the street and you just hear a group of people just absolutely howling laughter, they just can't stop laughing, like, you immediately are like, I don't know what's going on over there, but I want to know. Like, I'm not having as much fun as they are, but I want that amount of fun in my life. Like, clue me in. So I always tried to do the things that I found the most amusing, the most fun. So like, when it came to like opening orbs, I was like, how can I make this more fun? Make it a game show, have some smack talk just to make it goofy and fun. I was just always trying to make it fun. A good amount of my videos were like, oh, we found this minion that never takes a turn. Let's make him take a turn and see what his ability is. That will be fun. Let's do the I forget what we called it, but like the meme wheel PvP teams where we like handicapped PvP teams just to make a goofy tournament. But it was always just like, how do we make this fun? And I think that really shines through. I think if you're having fun, people will enjoy your content. So put yourself in a situation where you're having fun and share your fun with other people. And that's why like creators who are like begrudgingly doing content they don't believe in does not do as well, I think.
No, it comes across. You can tell if there's not that passion, motivation. And those are your last two examples are phenomenal. Makes a lot of sense. I think such a big part of the fun is kind of the personality of the creator themselves. And you're very good at that, obviously. But then, like you said, ways to maybe bring a game or gimmick's not the right word, but like some other touch to the content. That's really good advice. And something I'll definitely think about. Your second answer, would you say your comments, would another way to interpret what you said there is to have original content, about like, what's your answer to why should people watch mine? Was that similar to original content, or do you think there's a distinction there?
It definitely helps. Like, if you have original content, that's definitely a path to success. But I think that if you can structure existing content, like when I look back, I'm not sure. I certainly didn't get the idea from somewhere, but if someone had previously done it, I wasn't aware, but I can believe that it happened. But so like, I may not have been the first creator to do a game show type thing for summonings. And again, maybe I was, I have no idea. But I didn't consider that as like, oh, this is something that's never been done before. It's like most of what I did, like guide videos and uh, breakdown of a new character release and giving news and showing matches. Like most of my content I don't consider to be like so unbelievably original that only I could have come up with it or anything like that. I try to put my own spin on it by inserting like jokes here and there. But yeah, I like it again. If I had constantly come up with super original things that no one was seeing anywhere else, I think that would have been good. Like I do not think that's bad advice. I just think that that might be very difficult to tell someone. Like you have to come up with something no one else has come up with, and if you don't have that, then don't bother. Like no,
Yep.
you can do it. What other people are doing, try to do it in a way that makes you stand out or unique or whatever. You know, like every time this character gets a kill, take a shot, something like that. However, you want to make it your own. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that's super original, but
Yeah. No, that's good advice. And when I first started doing this, I always told myself, I'm not just going to do the Red Star opening video that 5 other people do really well whenever a new character comes out, or not just going to do kind of the standard that, yeah, it's a different view of it. But I'm starting to wonder if that's a mistake, because when I look at it again, I loved watching your Red Star opening videos. And so if there's people out there that like me, maybe they'd want to see me do that. So still
yeah.
figuring that out, and very helpful advice there.
Yep. The part of the allure of Whale Wars, I mean, obviously, like it was funny with the trash talk and seeing who the guest was, and some of the guests were really, really funny. But one of the comments I got constantly on Whale Wars was people saying, "I want to be on Whale Wars with you." And I learned early on in the League of Legends content, so I like although I could get games together with like really experienced players, everyone loved viewer games, which was like there is a large amount of people watching, and then 10 people get into the actual game. But more popular than me playing or other high level players playing was just letting 10 people from the viewers all play for everyone else. And everyone loved being there for the opportunity to play in front of everyone else. So I
Interesting.
think also just having a community where you can bring other people into the spotlight, people like that opportunity to have themselves featured. I extended that principle to my Alliance War highlights or Epic War highlights, I think is what I called it, something like that. But where viewers could submit videos, and if they had a really good video, then I could like, and we go to a viewer clip for this one. People loved having their stuff featured each week.
Oh yeah.
I would do random contests too, like one of them was like, who can get every character to assist on a single turn. Just like this will be a fun thing. Good luck trying to do this, guys. And then it was just like all like this viewer submitted this, and this viewer submitted that. But yeah, people like viewer submitted stuff as well. So if you can set up situations where other people can participate or submit, if you have enough of a reach that people will send in stuff that other people want to watch, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying earlier with the community, people want to be a part of that. They like that community, want to be involved, want to be talking with you, submitting things. So that makes a lot of sense. One other recommendation question here before we start to wrap up. I think a lot of content creators probably say my content's the best, and I won't say that yet. Maybe one day, but I do think I have a lot of good things. Kind of to your earlier point, from a min-maxing standpoint, to share with the viewers and really help them. But it's getting those views at first, right? It's getting those clicks. It's, hey, if I feel like if people watch it, they might hang around. But any recommendations for kind of that initial, you're getting started? How do you get those views in the first place?
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, this might sound like really bad advice, but I promise you it is really good advice, which is that and once I came to accept this, I was able to embrace it. But the YouTube algorithm really, really favors clickbait. Now, there is a healthy way to do that, which is called legit bait, which we'll get to. But basically, every YouTube video has a CTR, which is a click-through rate, which is basically we showed the title and thumbnail to this many people in the sidebar, the recommended, whatever, and then this percentage of people clicked it just based off thumbnail and title. This is how many people said, I want to know more. And then there are other factors like most of the people who clicked it then kept watching for this amount of time and spend this amount of time on the platform, things like that. But one of the biggest things is the click-through rate, because YouTube's algorithm's goal is to keep people on the YouTube platform. That's what they want. It's like Keep your eyes on the screen. So if they are always suggesting tons of videos where at least one of them makes you go, I was gonna go make lunch, but I really do want to see that, then they're like, that's a win. We kept them on the page. They show videos that are like, the more we put this out, the more people are clicking it and staying on our site instead of doing something else. So the goal is to have your video be the one that people keep wanting to click. So if you structure your video's presentation in a way that more people want to click it, YouTube goes, we should show this to more people. And then once they're actually watching the video, you have the whole video to go, look, I'm not full of crap. I'm a person that's trying to shoot you straight. Here's the real deal. Here's the information you want, all these things. But so you don't have to lie. And in fact, I strongly encourage, don't just like make pure clickbait and be misleading, but you can make open-ended questions, or you can deliberately set up a mystery that people want the answer to and structure your video that way. So for example, what I would do is like I found a bunch of like tier lists from game journalists from Marvel Future Revolution, and several of them had rated what, like, anyone who played the game knew Black Widow was the best character. She was just kind of overpowered, super good. But these random game journalists who played the game for all of like 2 minutes, she's the squishiest, so they probably died more on her than anyone else, and they were immediately like ranking her the lowest and being like, whatever, yeah, that's my tier list and I'm sticking to it. So even though I knew like, and everyone knew like Black Widow's the best character in this game right now, I made a video being like, Black Widow, the worst character, ? And I put the question mark as like, is that true? And then tons of people were immediately tempted to click it to be like, this guy's an idiot. What worst character, Black Widow? Get out of here. And then when they get there, I was like, look, here's what actual game journalists are saying. And then in the video, I'm like, my opinion is this is the best character. And anyone saying she's the worst is insane. But there are people saying she's the worst. And I can't believe this. What do you guys think? So I didn't make a video saying Black Widow is the worst, but my title and my thumbnail was like, is Black Widow the worst? And then the answer, no. But I asked the question, so I'm not lying or misrepresenting what's in the video. And so many people had to know, wait, I thought she was the best. Why is he saying she's the worst? And so they clicked it, and that got more people to see it. And also I had a good laugh when like if you watch the video, I make it very clear, like, Black Widow's the best, and anyone saying otherwise is an idiot. But there would be some comments to be like, Black Widow's the best character, you moron.
Like, and they obviously didn't watch.
No, you clicked and then didn't watch. Okay, well, but I'm like, the joke's on you, because they're walking away like, this content creator idiot. Can you believe this guy? And I'm like, you just outed yourself as a moron for everyone else that's actually looking. But okay, do it your way. So yeah, like that made me chuckle. But so you can do things like that. So I would get like a little like I said, I never went full on clickbait where I just misrepresented what was in the video. But I'll tell you, the 2 times, these are like the most egregious times that I stretched it, where like if you just pull out these 2 instances, you'd be like, that might be a little much, but all the other ones were far more reasonable. But I'd say the 2 of the most extreme ones were like, when the symbiotes came out, there were 4 symbiotes and no one knew who the 5th symbiote was. And then there was a bug where a character was supposed to revive a symbiote, and it was reviving Deadpool instead, just a bug. And so I took an image of Venom Pool from Marvel Contest of Champions, because Venom Pool was like a Deadpool Venom hybrid. And so I was like, hidden 6th symbiote. And like in the video, I make the joke of like, well, this revives symbiotes and it's reviving Deadpool, so I guess Deadpool's the hidden 6th symbiote. And like, that was the joke, but I put it in the thumbnail and the title, and people were clicking it, of course. So that was a way in which is like, I didn't misrepresent what's in the video, but obviously I wasn't like, I have an announcement about a hidden 6th symbiote either. Right. So that was like a way to stretch it, but I wanted to make sure it was always grounded in reality. And then there was another one that I did when I first got Doctor Doom. The first version of Doctor Doom, like from the first run of Dark Dimension, I was trying to make him work in PvP. I fully juiced him up as much as I could, but I think he was just like 4 yellow stars and no red or something like that. And I kept running into these like hyper meta arena teams, the PvP arena, whatever it was called, the live PvP arena. And so
Real-time arena. Yep.
the real time arena, and I kept getting smashed over and over. My Doctor Doom was just getting crushed. And so I was like trying to show people like, all right, if we just face one team that isn't like super duper meta, you will get to see him look good, because even at this power, he is pretty good. And every time I would get into another match, like, well, he's gonna get mopped this match because this is a super meta team, but we'll see on the next one. And I went like 5, 6, 7 in a row where I was just only matching against teams that were just gonna make him look terrible. And so I was like, you know what? I guess he's bad and can't win a match because we're only getting these matchups that make him look worse than he is. So then I think I titled the video like, is Doctor Doom total trash? And then it's like, obviously he's not, but the joke is like, you wouldn't know from watching this video. You might assume that he's trash. I promise he isn't, but oof, this series of unfortunate events made it look that way. So things like that. But
Interesting.
and you can also set up, I'd mentioned this to you, you can like set up questions that people want to know the answer to. So you'll see a lot of like, don't make this one huge beginner mistake. And then people are like, what mistake? What? I need to know. So things like that, like whatever you do, don't do this in Alliance War. And if you set it up in a way that people are like, I have to know, then they're clicking. And if they're clicking, then YouTube goes, I should show this to more people because more people are clicking it. And then as long as the content of the video is good and you're not full of crap, then people will be glad. Like I gauged it on like, okay, if I'm making people upset with my thumbnails and titles, and then they get to the video and they're like, dude, you're just full of crap with the way you're promoting this video. Like, this is not what I thought I was going to see when I clicked it. This video is a waste of my time. Screw you. They'd be like, all right, I'm doing this wrong. Like, I need to step back. But what I found was, even though I felt uncomfortable being like, I'm being somewhat misleading with the way I'm presenting this video, but all the comments were like, amazing video, great, super fun, really helpful. Like, people loved it. So I'm like, they might not have seen this video otherwise. So I guess I'm glad I did what it took to get them here, because they are happy to be here. So
that is so interesting, and a quick example of why that's so interesting. It makes a lot of sense. So most of my videos, again, I'm newer, I probably get 300-ish views, 400 views on average. I have one video that was over 1,000, which was a big deal for me, and the title of that video was "Don't Spend Gold on This."
Yeah,
So
exactly.
exactly what
Mystery
you're
solved.
saying. My number 2 video was something similar, like buy this now. And
Yep.
again, it wasn't bait. Like, I thought it was really good advice for people, and they
Yeah.
provided that feedback. But what a difference that makes. And hearing you explain that, it's kind of coming together in my head right now. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, you want to
that's
make the most clickable video, and then you want the video itself to be worth watching and recommending and sharing.
gotta back it up. Yep.
Oh, and another thing you can do is YouTube loves engagement. So setting things up for people to see later in the video. So like if you know, like, all right, I have some really spicy footage of this new character, mentioning like a little bit later in the video, I'm gonna show you this character in arena, but first let me break down blah 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 blah. The longer people are watching to get to that footage. Now, to circumvent that, I would always put in timestamps and be like, I don't want to waste your time. If you're just here to watch the video, great. But if like, I don't want to waste your time and force you to sit through things you don't want to see. So you can skip right to the part you want to see via this set of timestamps. But the farther in you put the stuff that people for sure are there for, the longer they watch. And then YouTube goes, oh, people are watching this video for longer, I should share it to more people. And another thing is engagement. It's always a good idea to right towards the end of every video, put it to the people and go like, all right, so I think Black Widow is the best character in Marvel Future Revolution, but do you guys agree, or do you think I have this wrong? And if like that's the last thing you're saying before the video ends, it reminds people, oh, now that it's over, let me actually write that comment, because the video's over now, so I can stop and think. But I have a different take. I think Captain America is the best. And then they'll type out a response. And when YouTube sees the engagement, it goes, oh, a lot of people are engaging with this video. I should share it with more people. So I would always make sure, and like, I also like the feedback. I like when people are commenting on the videos. It helps me. Even if the feedback is like, your hair looks stupid and I hate your lighting, like that still helps me to make it better, whatever it is. So I was always like, engaged, give me something to go off of. Tell me the parts you liked. Tell me the parts you hated. A lot of times I put something out, I'm like, people are going to love this new sound effect I put in. And everyone's like, great video, except for that stupid, annoying sound effect. And like, everyone's saying that. And I'm like, okay, I guess I did not know what sound effect people would like, but now I do. So I appreciate the engagement, but always like multiple calls. And it's okay to keep doing it throughout the video. Be like, all right, I think this is the best build and we're going to move on. But real quick, if you're watching this video, if there's a better build, let me know in the comments and just encourage people to engage, and that the algorithm will promote it.
That makes a lot of sense, and a lot of things I didn't know. Very helpful. So thank you. It sounds like, I've been all about trying to optimize Marvel Strike Force and need to get more into trying to optimize YouTube as well. So that's
Oh, I
great
assure
feedback.
you, many of the larger, more successful creators for a variety of games, including Marvel Strike Force, are not necessarily there because they are the most talented players.
Yep.
In fact, if you spend too much time being a good player, you detract from your entertainment value. I was always trying to like explain, no, here's how you min max. Let me show you the spreadsheet. Here's the numbers behind this ability. And like Mobile Gamer and others would like often give me the advice of like, you're showing people spreadsheets. That's not fun, exciting content. Like that's people don't really care about that. And I'm like, I know, but no one else is actually explaining this. So I'm content to be the guy that's actually providing this guide and bringing it down and helping people. But yeah, people will enjoy your content if you're a personality, more so than if you're a flawless player.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, and that's again good advice, because I feel there is kind of a gap for that spreadsheet, real math analysis type things, and I enjoy those things. One of the rare sickos that does, but
The few, the proud.
might not be the best approach for viewer optimization.
No,
So
definitely not. No.
that's interesting.
Nope. I would know it, like all those infographics and stuff. I have other creators being like, dude, you're spending like full days illustrating these infographics before I have the modules and stuff, and all this time doing the math and the spreadsheets. And like, what are you doing this for? There's like 30 people that actually care about the results of this. Like, you could just make a whole different video instead, and thousands of people watch that. And I'm like, I know, but my heart is with the nerds who want the numbers right and want to optimize, and like I got to stay true to what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I understand that it's not the quickest path to the top as an entertainer, but that was the approach I took. But no, it like for someone who's like, I'm trying to make it as an entertainer, like don't do that then.
Yeah.
Don't be boring, don't do math, don't lecture people. Just make funny videos and be ignorant. People love it.
That again, good advice. And I think, though, another thing you said there important, like being true to yourself too. Like if that's where your passion is and you avoid that, that's probably going to come through to people, and there's maybe not that excitement coming through that you mentioned earlier. So important. So
yep. Yeah, like Valley would give me some crap sometimes for being like kind of deadpan, and I'd be like, here's the thing, for me to not be like that is to be different than how I am. Like I'm capable of getting on camera and being like, what's up, everybody? You guys are not going to believe what we have today. But it's like, that's not me. And I would like to believe, like, maybe I fool some people with that, but I don't want all my content to be like, all right, let me pretend to be that guy. I'm not. Hold on.
yeah,
Like, I don't want to make it that way. I'm sure it works for some, but.
All right. Well, last question here, Khasino. From my huge following of about 330 people, wanted to give you this opportunity. Just if you had anything else you wanted to promote or mention about Mortal Kombat, your channel, what you're doing, etc.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, there is an early access version of Mortal Kombat Onslaught. You can join by going to discord.gg/mkonslaught. And there's also a companion site that I made for the game, www.mkonslaught.com. I had to learn a whole bunch of new skills to make that site. And I worked with someone I knew from MSF to actually, they helped me code it, but I learned all sorts of stuff like modeling and 3D rendering and stuff. I learned how to take the game files and actually assemble the models and apply the animations and pose them and set up everything so that I could have nice renders on the site. So been learning some stuff, but yeah, that's the bulk of what I've been up to. But I'm always on Discord. If you ever need to reach me about anything, join the Discord server, shoot me a message, and I'll be around.
Awesome. And again, we'll have links to these sites and videos you're mentioning in the description below, so people can get there easily. And Khasino, just wanted to thank you again, bud. This was a lot of fun. First off, got a lot of really good advice I think will help me as I try and grow my channel and continue this. I'm really enjoying it. So just can't thank you enough, and really appreciate your willingness to do this.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to help.
So, all right. Well, everyone, hope you enjoyed this interview. One last thank you to Khasino. Obviously, great guy. Wish you nothing but the best. And we will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.
Peace.
All right, guys. So that is all we have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to check out Khasino. He's an amazing content creator, especially if you're into Mortal Kombat from growing up or play it today. But links are in the description. I actually enjoyed going back and watching some of his old MSF videos as well. So as always, I give you my word that this is the best information I have. All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Peace.